Okay, so I want to talk about a story that's been kind of circulating the past few days, and it's about a school in the UK where I believe it's a middle school, and some of these students recorded a teacher kind of berating them when they asked one of their classmates how is it that they identify as a cat.
How dare you? You've just really upset someone. Saying things like should be in an asylum.
I didn't say that. I just said if they want to identify as a cat or something, then they're like genuinely unwell.
Then they've gone.
Yeah, they're
mentally
crazy.
unstable.
You were questioning their identity.
I wasn't a question. I was just saying about the gender. I didn't say anything about them.
But where did you get this idea from that there's only two genders?
I just think it's
there
my
is.
opinion.
That is my opinion.
If I
There is
respect
only
their
two
opinion, can't they respect my opinion?
It is not an opinion.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
but
It's not an opinion you
There's
can
only two
have.
genders.
Loads of people think there's only two genders.
There's only a boy and a girl.
Literally. There's
Female,
no other
male.
private part. There's only two.
Gender is not linked to do with the
There is only two
parts that you were born with. Gender is about how you identify, which is what I said right from the very beginning of the
No, I just don't
lesson.
agree with that. So why should I have to listen to something I don't agree with?
Biological sex, there is actually three biological sexes because you can be born intersex. You can be born with male and female body parts or hormones.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, there's three. There's not 300.
Doesn't mean.
Yeah, there's three. I'm talking about biological sex. In terms of gender, there are lots of genders.
Well, I just
There is
don't agree with
transgender.
that.
There is agender, people
Yeah,
that
but
don't
there is
believe
that.
they have a gender at all.
Yeah, but you can't have that. You
No,
do
you
a
can't
gender.
have that. It's not a law.
Yeah, but
It's not a law, but it's our opinion. We just don't agree with it. We just think it's all just.
if you have a vagina, you're a girl. If you have a penis, you're a boy. That's
Yeah.
it.
But cisgender is not necessarily the way to be. You are talking about the fact that cisgender is the norm. That you identify with the gender of the sexual order that you're born with
Yeah.
or you're with. That's
Yeah.
basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Which is really despicable.
How? When it's.
If I
literally
called
true.
my mum right now, my mum would
Same.
feel myself.
If I called my mum, she'd say.
Well, that's very sad as well then.
How is it?
Loads of people agree with that. There's only a small majority of people who actually think that.
And why do you think we have so many problems in the world with homophobia?
Yeah, but
Because
that's
of
not
people
homophobia.
expressing.
That's gender.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
it
fine
is.
with lesbians and gay people.
Same.
I've got nothing against them.
Yeah, same.
But gender there is a link between it, and you're
How?
saying that people
There
can't
isn't one.
change
No, they
who they want
can't.
to be.
They can't. Unless you
You're
get a
so
penis
wrong.
attached. No, I'm not.
You're confusing sex and gender.
No, I'm not though. Because
Yes,
if you have a
you are.
vagina, you're a girl. If you have a penis, you're a boy.
Yeah, you can't have a vagina and be a girl, but then
Gender-
Unless you
identify
get
as a cat.
surgery, and even then,
Gender
because
is
you've got
about
those genes.
how you identity.
I just
How you
don't agree with
identify.
it.
Yeah,
Which
just
means
not.
it's not an opinion
Yes,
that we
it is.
express in this
Yes,
school.
it is.
No, it's not. And if you don't like it, you need to go to a different school. So
I did go to a
I'm
different
reporting you to Miss Willis. You need to have a proper educational conversation about equality, diversity, and
I ain't
inclusion.
doing it. My mum
Because
doesn't
I'm
let
not
me do
having that expressed in my lesson. When I'm teaching you about you can be who you want to be,
Everyone else
how
thinks
you
it.
identify is up to
So
you.
Everyone else
people
thinks it.
think
They
that.
just don't say it because then all
Yeah.
this happens.
Maybe because they're polite and maybe they're sensitive.
I haven't said anything in all of the lessons I've been in. It's just because they turned around and started saying something. So I said, how can you identify as a cat when you're a girl?
Well,
Yeah.
they're now writing a statement. I would imagine that you'll be asked to write a statement as well.
We will.
Yeah, we will.
Now, from what I understand, this girl has been identifying as a cat, I guess, for a while, and has been meowing in the class and stuff like that. And there's other cases that have been coming out where people are now identifying as horses, the moon, cats, and so on and so forth. And these teachers are affirming them. So I'm going to play you a little snippet from another Pierce Morgan episode where they talk about this. And there's something very interesting that this one gentleman here in the middle there says that will lead to the subsequent clips that I'm going to be playing afterwards. So without further ado.
But, as Ava says, the kids are just acting out fantasies. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be Robin Hood.
But that's fine. That's fine.
but
but
let me-
the schools should not be tolerating
But
it.
the schools
And
are not.
And teachers should not be saying if you believe that women have vaginas and men have penises, you have to leave the school. That is complete nonsense.
No.
Right?
In this particular case, the Telegraph cited this handful of examples. They were by teachers, individual teachers. They were not school policy. And in at least one case, the school disowned the teacher and the policy and said that it wouldn't happen
But
again.
what about this case in Rye College?
Well, yeah, I'm sure there are some examples of excesses, but on the basis of those exceptions, you can't make a generalised attack upon the school system and suggest that all our kids are being propagandised in this way, because it's simply not
But when you hear
happening.
that teacher, I think, to bring Douglas back in, when you hear that teacher, there's clear evidence of what we've all been fearing has been going on, which is a teacher caught on tape literally spewing nonsensical gender ideology propaganda.
But one teacher.
Yes, I
only
think, by
one
the way,
teacher.
One
out of
teacher-
tens of
Well,
thousands.
hang on, one teacher caught on tape.
think-
Right, there have been many other instances of this being reported, but no one's actually had it on tape. It's a bit like, I would liken it to the Partygate scandal, when we finally got a video of the people having what was clearly a party. There have been lots of rumours about it.
So-
now we have a teacher clearly on tape doing this
But
stuff.
it's not official school
So,
policy.
if I may,
Schools across the
if I
country
may.
are
Well,
not,
she's still, to
are
my
not
knowledge,
sanctioning this.
she is still working at that school. Douglas.
So as you heard there, Pierce Morgan challenging him, saying this is the only time we've currently heard about this, because there's actual audio evidence of it, right? There's an actual recording. Who knows how many other classrooms or schools or teachers are saying this kind of stuff. And listen, I agree with the gentleman in the middle as well. It is a case-by-case thing. You can't blanket or generalize all teachers are doing this and all schools are doing this and this is happening everywhere and everywhere. But it's becoming more normalized, or it's coming up more, that one can start to think that this is something that needs to be concerned about, or like a concern. Well, funny enough, about I think 2 weeks ago, a Muslim student in Canada recorded a teacher basically saying the same thing. If he doesn't believe in the LGBTQ or doesn't want to attend these events, then he's not a Canadian and that he shouldn't be in Canada, basically. Kind of like what this teacher said, you don't belong at this school, you should go to another school. Like, I'm kind of confused as to where they think they have the ability to say this kind of stuff. But I'm going to play you the audio from the Canadian school.
Well, I'll tell you, you are out to lunch. If you think it's acceptable to not show up because you think that there's some pride activities going on at school, right? Oh, that's fine. You know, because I'm going to show my opinion by hanging out at the mall. But meanwhile, all of those kids who are, you know, involved in, say, the Gay Street Alliance or whatever, I don't even know if we have that anymore in our school, they're here when we did Ramadan for Lion Time, and they're showing respect in the class for your religion, right, for your beliefs. It goes two ways. If you want to be respected for who you are, if you don't want to suffer prejudice for your religion, your color of skin, your whatever, then you better give it back to people who are different from you. That's how it works. It's an exchange. And it isn't like that in all countries. As I told you, in Uganda, literally, if they think you're gay, they will execute you. If you believe that kind of thing, then you don't belong here. Because that is not what Canada believes. We believe in freedom. We believe that people can marry whomever they want. That is in the law. And if you don't think that should be the law, you can't be Canadian. You don't belong here. And I mean it. I really mean it. And it's not a joke, Mansour. I said back and forth. You want it, you got to give it. It just makes me angry. Sorry, I'm a little worked.
So there you go. You can hear her equating Ramadan to LGBTQ events, as if, you know, the LGBTQ is a religion like Ramadan is. Also, I don't think Muslim students or Muslim people actually want other people to be forced to participate in Ramadan. And it's not like, outside of acknowledging what Ramadan is, I don't think they're forcing the kids in the Canadian schools to fast like the Muslim students are, and to do anything remotely related to Ramadan outside of acknowledging it. Whereas it sounds like in these schools, they're actually making these kids participate in LGBTQ events or whatever programs, and they're simply skipping school or skipping class, kind of saying, I don't want to participate in this, which I don't think should be a problem. But the interesting part is this doesn't seem like it's something new to some of the students. Here we have another story about a kid, Murray Allen, from 2019 in Scotland. So again, this isn't like isolated events. It's only happening in the US, it's only happening in the UK. Like we have the UK, we have Scotland, we have Canada. I'm sure there's things in America that are happening. And you know, and it's not to say that just because there's no audio evidence of it doesn't mean it's not happening. But I'm going to play the short clip here of this teacher in 2019 talking about this.
We have been talking about the teacher who called a girl despicable because she wouldn't accept that a classmate identified as a cat. But this is not an isolated incident, and in fact, teachers have been telling off pupils for telling the truth about this kind of stuff for quite a few years now. Here is a very quick clip of what happened in a Scottish school back in 2019.
How was what I was saying?
Because I was saying that what's wrong with the website is that there are more than one gender in this country.
That's your opinion.
That is my opinion, and that is an opinion which is acceptable in the school. I'm afraid yours, which you're saying that there's no such thing as anyone other than male or female, is not inclusive.
Scientifically, there are just two genders.
You were clearly given an opportunity not to pursue it. You chose to do so.
Yeah, because I think it's...
You chose to do so. Yes, that's the key question. You chose to do so.
So basically, they were on a website, they were trying to fill out some information, there was a drop-down bar, and for the gender had male, female. The teacher made a comment like, oh, well, that's not very inclusive, blah, blah, blah. And this student simply said, well, what's the problem? There's only two genders. And then he got in trouble. As you can see, these teachers get on their high horse. They start to threaten you with, I'm going to write you up or you're going to get sent to the principal's office. This kid actually was expelled, unfortunately. Yet even after being expelled 4 years later, he's still willing to come on to live television again, give his opinion on it. And I agree with everything that he's about to say in this clip. Take a look.
The reason I've got you on is this video resurfaced, and this week alone, I have had numerous conversations about children getting into altercations with teachers over the same issue as you about the number of genders there are, but also over whether or not their classmates should be allowed to identify as cats, dogs, horses, dinosaurs, or in one case, the moon. Are you surprised that this is still going on? What do you think about it? And in your view, where is this coming from? Is there an indoctrination trying to take place here from the teachers, or are the teachers afraid of being called transphobic? I just want to hear from you on this.
Yeah, well, absolutely. This sort of ideology began getting pressed when I was about halfway through secondary school. That's when I really noticed it started to take up part of the curriculum in my guidance class, for example. And I never agreed with it. And I know tons of other students don't want to be being taught this, but unlike other subjects where when you don't understand something or don't buy into something, you can question it and speak about it. And obviously in an education setting, you want to be able to have open dialogue and discussion about any range of topics. But it's very clear now in the education system, there are certain woke ideologies and ideas that can't be questioned. And if questioned, you will have labels thrown on your back. And you'll be punished, you know, and just like I was. And I've seen this much more now. And sadly, where I started experiencing this ideology in halfway through secondary school and was more able to realize it was false, now it's being pressed from an even younger age. And kids really now have very little chance because from the ages of 6, 7, 8, 9, you know, they're being taught this is fact. And I know anything I learned at a young age in school, if someone said anything to the contrary, I would be adamant that that was right. I learned it in school. And so now when these kids that are being taught this get older and they meet people who don't feel the same way, they're instantly going to latch onto that person as a homophobe, transphobic, all these labels that these people throw at you.
Look at you, Murray, and they will look at you, and even people who believe the same thing that you do, right, will think, well, actually, right, I believe this, but is it worth me getting thrown out of school for it? I've got to ask you, we've not got too much longer left, Murray, but can I ask, do you regret it?
No, absolutely not. You know, I said, you know, people have came to me and said, well, are you not afraid this will affect you in the future? Because this generally is the type of thing that people get cancelled for. And as far as I'm concerned, I would much rather be the type of person speaking out about the things I know to be true and to be on the right side of the argument and the debate, as opposed to just biting my lip. Maybe I wouldn't have had to face the consequences of being expelled from school and life would have ran a little bit easier. But rather than biting your lip in these instances, I think it's very important to speak out and to not become the silent majority.
I think that's a brilliant young man. Kudos to him. He's got a good head on his shoulders. And I just wish that more people had this kind of line of thought. And not to say that they don't, but that are just willing to speak out against this type of stuff. Because again, this small minority is having such a huge voice and reach that it's crazy that the majority of people are being silenced or cowering away or like kind of hiding in the shadows because they're scared of repercussions. But anyways, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. As always, leave a comment in the comment section below, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much. So if you like that video and you want more content like that, check out this video, and as always, stay subscribed for other videos that I post. Thanks.